Tell us a little bit about you and your background. You mentioned your background in investing. Tell us a little bit about your, very heavy Irish accent, or is it Jamaican? I can't tell. You have to tell us where your accent is.
How far back do you want to go?
This is ClimateTech with Kentaro, a podcast featuring the brightest minds and most influential voices in climate tech. I'm your host, Kentaro Kawamori. One of the most rewarding things about doing this podcast is that we get to showcase our phenomenal community of problem solvers and how all of our climate solutions intersect. This week, I have a friend and fellow entrepreneur, Yoann Hispa, joining us on the pod. Yoann is the co-founder and CEO of LandGate. LandGate is like a Zillow for land resources. But of course, I'm not the expert here, so I'll leave it to Yoann to expand on why LandGate is the leading marketplace for land resources in the United States. That includes solar, wind, carbon, water, and minerals. In this episode, Yoann takes us through the expansive solutions they've developed, including how they help landowners, real estate agents, and investors alike to understand the energy and environmental value of land resources. We talk to Yoann about how their solutions are differentiated within a $4 trillion plus market. Yes, 4 trillion with a T. He also shares with us his journey as an entrepreneur, including a recent milestone of closing their Series B round. In this episode, Yoann is also our rapid-fire round guinea pig, so stay tuned for that.
I'm half Spanish, half French. I have actually a little Italian in there as well. And so my dad was living in Spain, right at the border of the Pyrenees. So that's where my mom still lives. And so Catalonia on the French side and then the Spanish side. And so that's where the accent comes from.
Before we get to all the good stuff about LandGate, Yoann shares a pretty cool story about how he found himself here in the US. He talks about his journey of coming to this country and seeing it as a land of opportunity, which I think is kind of poetic considering the work he's doing now.
So imagine that 10 years old kid. I grew up in a village of 80 people, farming, ranching village. I was always hoping it'd get to 100 before I leave that village, but never did. So very small village, everyone knew each other. And then I was living to this gigantic town of like 2,000 people next to that village. So for me, that was gigantic town. And then I think I was 10, 11 years old when Jim Irwin, an astronaut, he was the commander of, Apollo 15, I think, if I'm not wrong.
He's not wrong. Jim Irwin served as Apollo lunar module pilot for Apollo 15, which was the 4th human lunar landing. He was the 8th person to walk on the moon.
Jim Irwin went to that couple of thousand people town next to my village, and he gave very Christian guy, and he gave a talk there, and he spoke like quite a bit of French, so like impressed. And so there's this astronaut, pilot, scientist out there from the US talking about like his experience as an astronaut and as a scientist. And then he opens up to the floor and says like, who wants to have some autograph? And then he's 10 years old, like just rushing to the, like, I didn't even ask my parents anything. I just started running.
Jim Irwin signed a photo of the lunar lander for Yoann.
And the autograph says, Yoann, he wrote it in French, but I'm translating, united in the love of God. Jim Irwin signed. And that was him on his Apollo mission on the moon. And so at that point, I was decided to become either a fighter jet pilot or a scientist and to go to the US. That was my goal. So I did my bachelor in the French Air Force, and I got a full ride there.
But the whole pilot thing didn't end up working out for Yoann.
And I said, let's go scientist, and then let's go to the US. So that's the story how I landed here. Lots of opportunities. I don't think I could have done that, build that company in any other place.
In 2016, Yoann co-founded LandGate with Craig Kaiser in Denver, Colorado.
In a nutshell, we are a leading provider of information, data solutions, and also an online marketplace for US commercial land and its resources. So what that means in terms of resources, we mean solar farms, wind farms on the commercial side, surface carbon sequestration, underground carbon sequestration, minerals, water, any resources on the land. And that's a $4 trillion a year plus market. So when you compare to commercial real estate is $16 trillion a year market. So that's
only $4 trillion. A very small market, only $4 trillion.
It's quite large, the $4 trillion a year in terms of like all the resources. And as a comparison, the land value itself in terms of transactions is $500 billion a year. So the resources on the land are valued more, like 8 times, 10 times more than the land itself in terms of like transactions.
Got it. So half a trillion a year transacts between two counterparties, ownership of that land, and then 3.5 trillion is actual resource production out of that, is what you're saying.
Right.
Got it.
Right. The estimate is like $4 or $5 trillion a year of land resources when you add up all those resources. And as you see on the carbon side and the pressure we're getting on the renewable energy side for solar farm, wind farms to replace oil and gas production, I mean, the amount of acreage needed to get there, that resource value has to go up. So back to LandGate, so what we do is we provide 3 things. We sell 3 things. We are a subscription-based company. We sell data for any of those resources, and including comp data of deals. We sell SaaS products for economics, A to Z. You do engineering feasibility studies in minutes. Third thing we sell, lead generations. So that's the Zillow style approach, or I'd call it like the CoStar Group for the guys who know the CoStar Group on the commercial real estate side.
Here, Yoann talks us through their business model.
I was sending a team of landmen to knock on people's door. So first, it was taking me weeks with a team of engineers and scientists to run economics and to know if it's a good location or not, what we should offer. Second, we were sending a team of landmen knocking on doors to ask if those landowners, if they wanted to lease or sell, depending on the transaction. And I compared that to taxi drivers knocking on neighborhoods' doors and asking if you need a ride, basically. That was our business model. That's a traditional current business model. The closing success rate doing that, depending on the company, is like 0.1, 0.3%. So you talk to like 300, 500 landowners, you close on 1. You can imagine how they receive you. It's like you receiving the credit card company guys who mail you like packs of mails and then knocking on their doors and say, hey, do you want a new card with me? It's like, go away. So what we came up with is the Uber app. And the value proposition to the landowners and the land real estate agents who subscribe to our system, and we can circle back to that. The value proposition is very simple. They want to know how much it's worth. They're getting offers, they're getting interest. They love their land, they love farming, they love ranching. They want to add supplemental revenues, and they want to know how much it's worth. So that AKA is estimate, data intelligence on each of those resources. We spent 5 years automating data, like NSA style automation.
By the way, when Yoann says NSA, he means the National Security Agency.
So we automated data, digitized the economics, and we provide them this 90% answer of economics for 172 million parcels in the US. So again, 172 million parcels in the US, land value, solar farm potential value, or if you are leased with a solar farm on your land, we provide you the potential cash flow sale value of your solar farm royalties. Wind farm, surface carbon sequestration, EV charging, water rights. We provide all the values for all those resources. And they don't always add up, right? You cannot have a wind turbine with a solar farm while you're planting trees for carbon. You cannot do all that at once. But we provide these potential values to landowners and land real estate agents. We make sure that we don't set expectations too high so that our subscribers, the energy developers, the investors, private equities, they can access those leads very easily. And we provide them the tools as well to those subscribers, the data and the SaaS tools to value those deals. So that's the full package there.
Got it. And when you say NSA style data, I'm assuming like the NSA has a record on me and on you, and they can tell you everything about us, our social security number, our family, what we're going to have for dinner. Basically, you're saying you have an incredible detail and ledger of data on that specific land package, anything that the buyer or the seller might need to know to make that transaction successful. Is that right?
Correct. So in terms of like data, we have the full package plus the SaaS tools. Now, in terms of like maybe the NSA analogy was not the best because our users' data is super confidential to the user. So we make sure of that. Landowners can access this data for free, and that's how we source those leads. Land real estate agents subscribe, and right now we have 30% of all the land specialized real estate agents in the US subscribed and using our services. We have zero competition. We are the only one offering that to them. We're telling them, hey, you guys been in a $500 billion a year market. That, by the way, like when the real estate goes down, typically energy goes up. So, hey, you can access a $4 trillion a year additional market of deals, and it can balance out your up and downs as well. So super excited. And we're growing really fast with land real estate agents subscribing to our system. It's bringing like tons of leads, MLS listings.
MLS is short for Multiple Listing Service. MLS is a database created by cooperating real estate brokers to provide data about properties for sale.
So current MLS listings for sale that our subscribers get access to and can analyze with the data and SaaS tools we have, but also the past MLS listings, meaning the past 3-4 years of closed deals. I'm a land real estate agent. I closed on that 1,000 acre 6 months ago. That 1,000 acre might be available for a solar farm, for a wind farm, depending on the location, for carbon sequestration, for reforestation. Any of those are available. So we bring those leads as well.
And for those listeners that aren't quite familiar with land mechanics, we recently had Max Nova from NCX on the podcast, and they have a marketplace very specific to doing verification on forestry protection and all that kind of stuff, which is pretty cool. But you're going across a much broader spectrum, and essentially landowner has their piece of land, let's say 1,000 acres, and they can then monetize the various aspects of that land, whether it's the solar rights or wind rights, mineral extraction. And so they're really selling the rights to that, and then they're bringing in operators to come do that. They're not always selling the land. Is that right?
That's correct. So they can have multiple deals. I'll give you an example. I'm a land real estate agent. I close on that 1,000 acre, right? And so that landowner bought the 1,000 acre. First deal. Maybe like depending on the location, call it like $7,000 per acre. You come back as a land agent, say, hey, you have like 200 acres. They are very good for a solar farm. You're very close to that substation. It has hosting capacity. There's good LMP markets and RECs in that location, renewable energy credits. So like I'll post it on LandGate's, and this developer puts an offer. Let's assume like $1,000 per acre per year on that. Solar lease. They still own the land. They have a 200 acre leased at $1,000 per acre per year plus with escalation. They lease that, put an option, lease that. A year and a half, 2 years later, there's a solar farm. I can sell those cash flows right? I'm going to get cash flow. These are called like solar royalties or solar rents. Is the hardest commodity right now in terms of like marketplace. Those solar rents, you sell that for like 15, 20 years. So they're going to buy it for 15, 20 years of cash flows. The next 40 years of cash flows you're going to get, they're going to pay you upfront 15, 20 years of that.
Here, Yoann explains how they provide hard-to-access deals and what differentiates LandGate as a marketplace.
One, we are a neutral, we're a marketplace, right? We provide data, we have subscribers. Obviously, we get paid by the energy developers and investors, but our job is to source those leads. We're not a buyer. And I know you mentioned NCX and love the company, great platform, great everything. But as a buyer, you have a really hard time reaching out to the landowners and to have them trust you. Plus, we have exactly what you said, Kentaro, is we provide them the values of all the resources. We're agnostic, right? We got to be agnostic with those resources. A lot of your landowners out there are like very conservative people, right? So we need to provide an agnostic type approach, and they look for mineral rights values, and then they see they can make more money with solar, and they're like, what the heck? Let me go with solar. Let me plant trees. And that's what we offer. Many marketplaces have been attempted in the past from buyers, other companies. It never worked when they were buyers. It rarely worked if they don't have a value proposition. That value proposition we have is how much is it worth?
Yep, that makes a ton of sense. I think that objectivity is crazy important in a marketplace, right? You have to be able to arbiter supply and demand on both sides, and you coming in to provide that value in the middle, which is the data, is super critical. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about LandGate more as a company and the entrepreneurial journey. So tell us a little bit about that. And I think you have some exciting news to share as well.
Sure. So we've been at it for 5 years plus. Took us 5 years to build products, right? I'm a algorithm product guy and spend a lot of time with a amazing team of ex-DoD, ex-three letters type other companies, very, very smart developers, coders, to digitize everything. Many energy companies have attempted that. And they haven't really succeeded. I haven't seen one. So we spent 5 years building those products and digitizing. Little focus on sales at the beginning. We had I was a sales guy for the first 3-4 years, and with Craig, and part-time doing that. Then we hired a sales guy. Revenue's been increasing steadily. We expanded into renewables starting 2019, working on renewable energy. 2020, we started working on carbon, and took us 3.5 years to expand and add all those resources, which was the plan. A long time to get all that data. Then revenue steadily increasing with 1.5 sales guy through 2021, and many renewable energy revenues. And then the great news is we closed on a Series B with a subsidiary of NextEra Energy, and we're very excited. $10 million Series B, and we get one of the biggest logo in the clean energy world. They are the largest clean energy company in the world. If you look at their share price, it looks like an exponential curve. I'll give it 1 or 2 years before they take over Exxon, Chevron in terms of market cap. Amazing company, amazing partner. We're very excited. Our Series A was with guys you know very well, Kentaro, the Rice Investment Group. And I'll say that. I hope I'm not going to offend anyone. They are the best energy tech VC in the US. So,
of course they are. Who else would there be?
Exactly. So very excited to have them on as our partners on the Series A. They've been amazing help and support. And so we have 2 great logos now, one on the energy tech side, one on the ClimateTech, renewable energy development side. And we using that capital to grow ourselves, right? Spent 5 years focusing on products. Now we're growing and having an explosion type growth in terms of land real estate markets. So land real estate agents, markets, energy developer, energy markets, private equity investors, and also about to push very hard on the capital markets.
First and foremost, huge congrats on closing the Series B. I mean, Nextera coming in and validating the business and the strategy and the approach is massive, right? I mean, like you said, they're the titan when it comes to renewable energy, right? Literally the most valuable, clean power company in the world when it comes to production and all that. So huge endorsement. It's been fun to see you all from not the very beginning, but from the early days, and be able to partner on that. As promised at the top of the show, I'll be doing a rapid fire round with our guests to get to know them better going forward. So here's our first one with Yoann. Best thing about being an entrepreneur?
Accomplishing your dreams.
Worst thing about being an entrepreneur?
Stress, work hours.
Hardest thing about being an entrepreneur?
Responsibility towards shareholders, a lot of them being friends.
Yep, I can definitely relate to that. It's a powerful motivator, but also can cause enormous stress. But that's I think we like that as much as it's hard, right? Biggest lesson as a leader or as a CEO so far?
Don't be afraid to share your ideas and run them against many other people and run that idea through them.
Let's expand on that. What do you mean by that?
Well, when you go to MBA school, everyone thinks that their idea is worth millions of dollars. It's worth nothing until you first started working on it and you've accomplished technically what you want to do, and then there's a business case and a commercial success. So you have many, many steps before doing that. And many people, they want to resolve their own issue and they think it's the greatest idea on earth. Just before you spend $500,000 of your own cash on something, just don't be afraid to talk about it. Because it might be an amazing idea, and you're going to find friends. You're going to find people who are going to help you. And that's the second thing I would say is don't be afraid to involve more people and share with them. Share the ownership of founding those ideas and share the ownership of your company. The more people you get in there, the more they're going to help you. Don't be afraid to, obviously you want the highest valuation you can on your company. You want the share price to go up, but don't be afraid to give ownership away, because those people are going to help you grow that even more.
Yep. Yeah. Very wise words. And I've seen that time and time again. I still see it today, right? Somebody comes up with an idea and they think it's this magic idea that they have to safeguard and they can't possibly share it with others. And I just kind of laugh and I say, exactly to your point, ideas are worth absolutely nothing unless it's a truly mind-boggling, once in a million type of idea. Let's be real, those very rarely exist in this day and age. Execution is everything. Well, last thing to wrap up here. Anything that you'd like the audience to know about LandGate's that we haven't discussed today? Floor is yours. Any message you'd like to leave us with?
Well, if you need the best data in the US in terms of solar farm, wind farm, electricity, utility type data of available capacities, transmission lines, hosting capacities, substations, distribution lines, we have by far the best data set out there. No one has distribution lines with the available capacities. No one has those substations and transmission lines with hosting capacities. If you also want the SaaS economic tools connected to this data so that you can run your feasibility studies in minutes, so that you can, on the solar or wind side, so that you can run a carbon offset engineering report of a specific group of parcels for current tree canopies, reforestation, soil carbon sequestration. You can run that in minutes on using our data and software. If you need to access leads in a very easy way, leads ready to close, whether you want to lease land for a potential solar farm or whether you're looking to buy renewable royalties. You want to buy those solar farm rents, those wind farm rents. We have a lot of those deals. And if you're a capital market and you want to compare the production and future cash flows of the renewable assets of entire companies, like net asset values, NAVs, if you want to get those valuations and access those in a very easy research analytics, updated every month, we have those. You want to risk them against catastrophes type weather data and see which operator has them. If there is an ERCOT type problem, or looking at the entire position in the US, storms and floods, any type of catastrophes, what is the exposure of this company? What is the risk on their future cash flows of their NAV, net asset values, to those catastrophes? We have that part of the subscription.
Right. Well, you're definitely sending that message to the right audience. Plenty of private equity investors, bankers, and VCs as part of the audience. So thank you for running us through that. A big thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Super excited for you guys on this this milestone Series B. And as all entrepreneurs know, that it's a moment to celebrate, but it also means plenty more work ahead. So I'm excited to see what you guys do here in the next phase.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's it for this week's episode. If you want to learn more about Yoann and the amazing work he's doing with his team at LandGate, head on over to landgate.com. Before we go, please don't forget to subscribe to ClimateTech with Kentaro on Apple Podcasts or whatever platform you listen on. Thank you all for listening, and I'll catch you on our next episode. ClimateTech with Kentaro is produced by our incredible team at Persefoni and Hueman Group Media. Our theme music is by Guest House. And if you want to learn more about Persefoni and our climate management and accounting platform, please visit our website at persefoni.com.